A brilliant radiance that exudes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The most primary attribute that radiates from Allah is His love, His mahabbah, His rahmah, His lutf. And that is why we are told, sabaqat rahmatuhu ghadaba. His mercy overwhelms His wrath. His aim in creating creation, is to bring everyone to know Him. And that is why He wants everyone to succeed. And every soul is on a journey towards knowing Him. If you can recite a salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So every incident that we experience in life, good or bad, is an opportunity for us to build certain traits in our souls that will help the soul to mature to a point where it willingly surrenders itself and experiences consciousness of God. Traits such as patience, courage, humility, selflessness. And that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in one place in Surah Al-Baqarah, He says, Ista'inu bis-sabri was-salat. Seek help with patience and with prayer. Inna Allaha ma'as sabirin. Allah is with those who are patient. And elsewhere in Surah Al-Baqarah, He says, Wasta'inu bis-sabri was-salat. Seek help with patience and prayer. وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِئِينَ. But this is very difficult to do, except on those who are humble. Because those who are humble are less egoic. It is they who will want patience and who will constantly turn to Allah and pray towards Him for this help. Patience is a primary attribute and trait of the soul that we need to strive for in order to build that maturity that will bring us to consciousness of God. When you look at this holistically in the Quran, you will find it is the single most important trait in a human soul. When the people of Jannah, of paradise, entered paradise, they are ushered in and they are welcomed by the angels. And the angels tell them, Salamun alaykum, peace be on you, as they enter Jannah. This is their abode where they shall live for all eternity. Salamun alaykum, peace be on you. Why? Because you prayed a lot of salat on the earth? No. Because you fasted a lot? No. Because you gave a lot of wealth in charity? No. Because you went for a lot of hajj and ziyarah? No. Salamun alaykum bima sabartum. Peace be on you because of the sabr you had when you were in the world. فَنِعْمَ أُقْبَ الدَّارِ. So how excellent is this eternal abode for you today? In other words, they are saying to them, peace be on you. Your patience has led you to a level of maturity where you are now so conscious of God that you can live for all eternity in bliss. Bima sabartum, فَنِعْمَ أُقْبَ الدَّارِ. So, in summarizing this, and I'm running out of time here, Allah is all-wise. He does not act without purpose. He created humans for a purpose. The purpose was for humans to know Him. In order to know Him, the soul needs to attain maturity. This knowing does not happen with the mind, but it happens through consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and knowing Him, feeling His presence and being fully conscious of Him, which leads us to submission. And this explains why Allah did not simply create us and plant us in Jannah. Because we need to have those interactions in this world that help us to build the attributes that help us to have these realizations and maturity that bring us to these levels of consciousness. Now, how do we build these traits? We build these traits in ourselves through one thing, and that one thing is suffering. Suffering happens in two ways. One way that suffering happens is through Sharia. Sharia imposes certain things on us in a very gentle manner, expose us to some hardship that build these traits in us. For example, Sharia tells us to wake up at dawn and pray Salatul Fajr. When we get up at that morning, we struggle against our souls, and in doing so, we build certain attributes and qualities that will help us to attain that God consciousness. Fasting, now that we are at the doorstep of the month of Ramadan. Fasting has been prescribed for you as it was prescribed for those before you. Why? لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you may attain taqwa. What is taqwa? Taqwa is God consciousness. It brings us back to the same thing, that fasting also is to help you to become more conscious of Allah. Parting with your wealth is a hardship. Going for jihad is a hardship. These are all different forms of sharia that give you some form of suffering but help nurturing the soul. The other way in which we encounter suffering is when we have to deal with other souls that are less mature than we are at our level. They may be our family members, parents, children, siblings, relatives, or they may be friends or people at work. As we encounter and deal with them, opportunities arise for us to build these qualities in our souls. We can choose to be patient or impatient. We can choose to be selfless or selfish. We can choose to be arrogant and angry or be humble. So we can choose to be courageous or we can be cowardly. There are constant challenges, from the person who annoys you in the traffic jam, to the person at work, to the person who says something hurtful at home. There is constant challenges, but that is why Islam does not permit you to go live in a cave or be a monk living in a monastery. Islam wants you to live in society because that is where the soul is forged, in the fire of suffering and tribulation, where it attains these qualities. Ask yourself, when do we become patient? When we have to hold ourselves back from something we want or something we have lost. When do we have to be selfless? When we have to prefer something for others over ourselves. When do we need to be humble? When we are angry and when there is an opportunity to be arrogant. When do we need to have courage? When there is something that we fear, but we have to do. Supposing these challenges did not come in our lives, then how would we become patient? How would we be courageous? How would we become selfless? We would all die arrogant, selfish, ignorant, cowards who are impatient. The opportunity for these qualities would never arise without having this. And that is why the Quran repeatedly says this. كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْقِتَالِ. Fighting has been prescribed for you, where you may have to give your life. وَهُوَ كُرْهٌ لَكُمْ. Even though we know that you don't like it, you hate it. وَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. It may be that you despise something in life, but it is good for you. وَعَسَىٰ أَن تُحِبُّوا شَيْئًا وَهُوَ شَرٌ لَكُمْ. And it may be that you love something, but it is good for you. وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Allah knows, you don't know. Meaning Allah's eyes is on your soul, on your journey to Him. He wants your soul to mature and come to a fruition and bloom and blossom so that you know Him. And the way to that is through suffering. You are looking at your physical dimension and your animal instinct and running away from suffering. And therefore missing the whole purpose of life.